Hello, hello. How is everyone this evening? This is our third and final tutorial of the day. This is Amy from Seriously Sweet, and tonight we're going to be finishing up our Tiki Hot Chalkboard from our Tiki Hot Summer Series. And I believe that I have it shared into the Cookie Snack Attack group. At least I can see it on my phone, so we should be good to go there. If you want to share it to your personal pages and invite your friends, you're welcome to do that. We're going to be putting our cookie together tonight, so I think I have us ready to go. Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining me again. I went live just a little bit earlier, I think around 5 o'clock, and did 45, 50 minutes and just showed you what I was going to be doing to dress up my fondant pieces for tonight. So I have that work all done here. The shading, it just really brings these things to life. I love it. So we've got that going on. Hey, what do you say, Jennifer? It is good to see you here. Oh, okay. You're still at the vet. I hope everything's going okay. Hello, Miss Becky. How are you tonight? Miss Debbie is in the house. Barbie has made it back. I'm so glad. I hope you guys are decorating with me tonight. And if you're not decorating with me tonight, I hope you're prepared to be posting pictures first thing tomorrow. So exciting. So earlier, remember I told you I was about to go live, and that's why I was like a minute or two late, because UPS knocked on the door and delivered the boxes. Well, they delivered my boxes that I wanted to organize my, oh, Jen, good. Jen got a new kitten today. Actually, she is adopting a kitten from a friend that had to move and the kitten couldn't go. So this is really a good thing. I'm excited for you. So anyway, in those boxes was the clear 12 by 12 containers that I ordered in bulk through the pro side of Michael's, because I wanted to get my fondant molds organized. I've had them very tightly packed, so I have to dig through a lot of stuff every time I get one. Like, I'm very visual, so I kind of know what I have or what I've ordered before, but then sometimes I can't put my hands on it, and it gets quite frustrating. So I decided that I would just make myself a list of things that I needed to do to make my area more efficient. And I've been ticking off one thing a week on that list because the list was quite overwhelming. So that was something I worked on a little bit before I came back live with you guys. So make sure you check out both of those videos from earlier today, but we're going to jump right in. This is the cookie that I'm going to be working on tonight. I've already got it. I think I told you earlier today, I've already got it set up because it's going to be a cake. Barbie, I'll approve that just as soon as we get off. I actually have to get my phone and then approve that post in order to do it. So I will, I'll be doing that in just a little bit for you. So earlier in an earlier video, we talked about how to cut this and then flip it, because we wanted this side, right? I hope I don't mess it up again. We want this side, let me pull my picture, to be the side we're decorating. So I tell you how to actually cut it, flip it, add your bamboo skewer so you can convert this to a cake topper, how to add the extra dough to get this real secure, right? We've got something really secure here because we're about to add a lot of weight to it because we're going to make it a lot of dimension. So I want to work on this nice flat side. However, I will say this. The next one of these that I do when I have a couple of extra days, I'm going to go ahead and just ice this and just write the family's name, my signature, and a date on it, because I know most of them they're not eating these. They're just keeping these, the ones that are ordering them. So the next time when I make it for someone where it's a sellable piece, a sellable cake topper, I'm going to go ahead and just ice this in some kind of coordinating color, like probably a bright green or something. And I'll write to whomever, created by, and the date on here. So they'll have something if they decide to keep it. I am getting a lot more interest in people. I keep getting requests like, do you have a video where you can preserve cookies? Is there a way to do that? And I'm like, oh, okay. So you're keeping one of the cookies from baby showers or weddings or 15th birthday parties, sweet 16s, all that kind of stuff. Hello. So Barbie, I'll do that in just a little bit. Jennifer, good. We'll see you in just a little bit. Hey, Sally, so excited for you and your big news. I'm so excited. You're going to be so fabulous at that. Also, I guess there isn't a way to do it, but you know how on refrigerators, how you can flip the doors? I sure wish that there was a way to flip the door on my Sasori dehydrator, because it has to be on this side and it opens the other way, so it's hard to get in now. All right, so these guys I ran them, let the dehydrator run at the low temperature for about an hour and a half after we made them. I just want to pull them off and show them to you so you can see how nicely they set up and how sturdy they are. I'm going to pull them both off. I truthfully don't know which one we're going to use yet. I guess we're going to roll with the flow, see how our bamboo works out. And then, guys, these bags are so cheap. I just pitch them. This is not something I keep around and clean and keep reusing. I like using these because it makes the back of my transfers super flat. And because in the winter when it's real humid, they actually stay attached to this. Then I can slide them in a larger sleeve and just put them in a little file box or a crate. I have a wooden crate that they fit in. So I can make a whole bunch of them ahead of time and keep them adorably scary. Yes, yes. Hey, Kathy, how are you? Hey, Priscilla, did you make it on here? Have you made it over here yet? Let me see. I don't know if you have. I don't see. Are you here? Are you one of the people watching right now? How fun. What a great day, you guys. Got so much done. Had a wonderful day. Let me see. I don't know why this doesn't work when I need it to work, but that is what technology is all about. It does not ever work when you want it to work the way you want it to work, right? But you just got to roll with the flow when you're doing lives. It's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. Is that somebody's business name, the Cookie Crumbles? It should be. You can use it if no one else has it. How the cookie crumbles. Let's see. So let's see. Well, I could have sworn that I just sent you a message, but I sure don't see it on here. Hold on. Yes, Priscilla, I don't know if you've gotten my message, but I got a lovely package from you today. It's so cool. I'm going to make the little things in it. And then it sounds like a soap opera, right? How the cookie crumbles. That's got to be reminding me of something. So, hey, April, how are you? All right, so we're going to start in on this tonight. And the first thing we're going to do, those cool pieces that we painted earlier, I just want you to go ahead and place them on your cookie. Now, remember, this is the cookie that we're going to create, only we're going to be going a little bit further off the cookie, right? So this is roughly the design we're moving towards. I'm going to change mine up a little bit tonight just because I want to go a little more extreme with my pieces. So just know that. And also, guys, you certainly can do your chalkboard first, let it set up, and use a full-size stencil on it before you go forward. However, let me just caution you. If you do that, you have to be prepared to bring your bamboo or your wooden areas much higher so that you can make them go up onto the chalkboard a little bit, because you don't want a perfect rectangle, because this is supposed to look like you used actual bamboo. So as you can see, it would have a rough edge, right? It wouldn't be a perfectly straight symmetrical lines here. So you could. I, however, just trimmed my stencil down. This is an Aloha Stencil from Cookie Countess. You don't need this. I just wanted you to show you what it would look like. So I dirtied up my chalkboard using that edible ink, Food Colors, the chalk pen, right? I told you to go ahead and order this because we're going to be using it at Christmas. You're going to need it later anyway for the Christmas series. So I filled my black in as my very last thing because I wanted it to go up into all the nooks and crannies, right? And then I trimmed the stencil and put a shield around everything else so that when I did this, it didn't get on anything else because everything else was already complete at that point. You could do it the other way, but again, be prepared to go really high on your sides when you add your sculpted icing, or when you add these pieces, you're going to need to lift them so that they're a little bit over the chalkboard area. I tried it both ways. What I thought looked the best was doing it last, but I get that some people might not be comfortable with doing the airbrushing like that after the fact, right? Actually, let me put this right here. So let's talk through our pieces. You're going to need your little sketch marker. I'm going to use black. You guys use yellow. Although really it's not going to matter on this because you're going to be filling this area in with black. So if you decide to sketch with black, it's not going to hurt a thing tonight. And I always link the black pins for you. All right, so these are the pieces that I made earlier. And I'm going to be very careful about which side I put this one on because I want that cool knot to show. So it has a better chance of showing on this side of the cookie because I know I'm putting flowers up here. My coconut drink is going here. So maybe I want to just push that a little bit more towards the top. And this one, which is it's still nice. And remember, we did all that cool shading earlier. So it looks like fresh green stems of bamboo. It's perfect. The coloring and everything turned out perfect. But I'm going to put it on the other side because it's more likely to get covered up. Now, the other thing I'm going to take into consideration here, this side, I don't need this to be a perfect square, right? Because it's supposed to look like we roped together bamboo. So what I'm going to do here, just to make it a little easier, because remember, we're going to be adding a tiki face on there and all of those things. I'm going to trim this just the tiniest little bit, right? It's just fondant. I'm going to trim that. It can be uneven. I just don't want it that uneven. So here we go. We've got this nice area. We know this corner's getting covered up. So if your piece doesn't quite reach, that's perfectly fine. We're going to be coming along this outside edge. We're going to, on this one, because we're not doing the hand sculpting, we don't need all these extra areas because remember, tonight's cookie is a beginner to intermediate level cookie, whereas the one that there's already a video up that I did for Frosting Creators of San Antonio, that has hand sculpted royal icing and it's considered an advanced tutorial. So it's going to be up there 2 ways and it'll be up to you to see which one you want to try to do, okay? I personally, even though it's considered an advanced technique to do the sculpted royal icing, I love working with sculpted royal icing. It's just, I like it. It comes pretty naturally to me in most cases. So I enjoy that, but I also think there's a place for the fondant bits and pieces if you need a very, very realistic looking bamboo sign. So we're going to mark this, okay? I just want a little mark here because I'm going to pull these back off. We're just going to attach them to the cookie with a little bit of royal icing. Yes, you could just wet the back with water, but I actually need them to be a little higher on the cookie because they're actually the sign. Look at that keeps happening. Sorry, hold on. I don't know what did I do with it? Oh, it's like, where is that at? Okay, so let's pull that off. So I'm just going to set these off to the side so that I have them still turned the same way. But that's roughly how much sign area we're going to have. You can make that a little larger if you want to. All right, my thought process for this design was to have this cool tiki guy down here at the bottom, okay? And then we're going to do that spray of flowers, florals, bamboo leaves, shoots, everything here. And we're going to use those cool new feathers, these really big feathers. We're going to use those to be the headdress for this guy. So that all has to go under him. He's going to be the last piece that goes on because he should be the part that's sticking out, right? So he's going to be over here. And then on this side, I wanted to do the coconut. It's because I wanted to have a cool drink on here. And remember earlier I told you this is going to be our non-edible piece, but we're going to be adding this. We're going to be adding this to the cookie down in the sculpted coconut that we're going to do because we're going to talk about texture on here. Hey, Kat, thank you for joining us. Hi, Linda. Thank you. Glad you guys made it back. And yes, this will be up for replay. So if anybody is Midwest or West Coast and you're getting ready to have dinner, you can watch this later, no problem. This is going to be our non-edible piece. You could certainly do this out of royal icing. I just wanted to see what it would look like because this particular one is going to be my feature piece when I take my photos. So I just wanted to have something a little different in this one, okay? And so that's in the earlier video too. So I'm just going to follow around where my drink is going to be, okay? Now, when we did the hand sculpted, this was an area that was the end of the run of the sign of the bamboo because we left an area to do the sculpting. On this cookie, we're going to put some flowers, right? So this is just another way to use the same cutter. So we're just sketching along the lines there. We're going to put this cool coconut right here. We're going to do the sculpting on that piece. That's what we're going to do a limited amount of royal icing sculpting on tonight. This is going to get filled with white icing from earlier, what we have. It's going to have a rim, so it looks like it's lifted. If you want to get really fancy, you could probably add something to that rim, but this is really not a drink you normally add like salt to, so sugar wouldn't really fit there. Do you know what I mean? But you could use your leftover toasted coconut from the previous couple of weeks, and you could just do toasted coconut if you don't want to sculpt your coconut. So you can use the toasted coconut, the real coconut that we toasted a few weeks back, and you could do your texture using that if you want to get another type of a medium on the cookie. Tonight I'm just going to show you how to sculpt it using your thingamajiggy. Okay, we're going to use this. All right, so we're going to have that there. I know I'm going to have flowers up in this area, so we'll just play all of that by ear based on the pieces you made. And I know I'm just sketching this because I want to remember there's certain that I want flowers in certain areas so that I think about how I'm balancing my colors as I start adding, because you're going to be shocked how quick the cookie goes together now. The real work of this whole project was prepping this morning and making the pieces this afternoon. So once all of this part's done, when you actually go to put it together, it goes together super quick. So let's just jump on that, okay? All right, I'm going to set my little tiki. Actually, you know what? While we have the tiki here, I'm going to use my Tweets marker. Let me show you what that looks like. I sure hope there is one that's actually FDA approved by the time that CookieCon gets here. So I'm going to use my 03. This is my 03, I believe, right? These are both 02s. The brush tip. Yeah, the brush tip is the 02. If my dogs start barking, it's because my husband's been out mowing the lawn and weed eating, and he'll be coming in that door any minute, and they've just realized that he might be out there. So if we have a little noise, they're going to come running from the other room. But let's go ahead and finish his little teeth, okay? So we kind of want him to have that cool upswing. So I'm right-handed. I'm going to turn him almost upside down because I want to do an upside down arc. So I'm going to mark a little dot in the middle. Okay, for spacing, can you see that? Let me lift it up. I'm finding the middle. This is how I always find my spacing. Then I go above it and straight over on both sides and mark a little dot. Can you see that? I don't think I'm steady enough to do this, but for you, I will try. I'm going to connect these. Not breathing or talking. Now I'm going to go back in here. I did this on my last one and I liked making gaps. So I'm just going to put a couple of so his teeth look nicked. I'm going to go and add just a few enlarged areas with the black. Okay, so you can see how I did that. Let's turn him around. Now in the center, we don't want to give him perfectly great teeth like he's been to the dentist because he's a tiki man and he's supposed to look scary. So we're going to go a little off center on his face and curve the top and the bottom. And he's got nicked teeth. We're going to come over a little bit, little curve, like starting to curve inward and outward to make his little teeth. And there's our teeth, okay? And if you want to put some other little nicks, every little bit of character like this really makes them look great. So if you want to do one just nice and simple the first time, that's fine. But do a couple extra transfers when you do this because this part is actually really fun. Did you guys ever do that at Halloween where you put grape bubble gum on your teeth for one of your costumes, stuff like that, fun stuff? So see how he looks now? So I like the white teeth, though I can't get away from the white teeth. So I'm not going to dirty him up with any dry dust, but you could if you wanted to. So there we've got that. All right. So this little guy's ready to roll. So we won't have to worry about doing that on this fresh cookie. And now let's get going. Yes. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in with some of our green icing and we're going to attach our 4 pieces of bamboo. So let me grab that. This is a toothpaste consistency icing. Hey, Sherry, how are you? Whoops. Didn't even realize I was squeezing it. It was coming out. All right. So I'm just going to attach it this way. Again, you could just wet this, and wet fondant will stick right to the cookie without putting down a base. But remember, I need this to be lifted. So I'm actually going to ice the whole back of this. The reason I'm using the same color is because I know... Charlotte, are you on the train again? That's so fun. I love that you watch me on the train. So I'll put these comments up in just a minute, but just let me focus on this real quick. I need it to be lifted so you can you see how thick? Let me finish this one, and then I'm going to open the tip of the bag a little more because it's very thick icing. It's a toothpaste consistency, 25-30 second, like literal paste, not gel, right? And I want it to be taller. I need it to be green. So if any of it oozes out, it doesn't matter. It's the same green as what I colored this earlier, right? Do you see what I mean? And I need it a little bit lifted because I need an area to catch all that black icing for the chalkboard that we're going to add in just a little bit, okay? And I think a minute ago I said we were going to add the chalkboard last, but technically we're going to add it after the bamboo. And I just made the opening on this just a tiny bit bigger. Can you see that? Just a tiny bit bigger so that it's not so hard on my hand as I'm adding. See how much easier that is? And do you see how thick it is? Can you see that? I did pretty good. I'll give myself a 95% rating for not coloring my hands today, but the night is young. The night is young. This is from the mold that's listed on your supply list. And remember, I want the knot to show, and I like these edges. So I want to keep this as low as possible. If there's a choice about where it's going to go, I want it a little lower because I want to make sure I don't cover that up with flowers, right? I like that little knot. So that's why we hand placed it before we got started. A lot of times, you know, if you just start throwing stuff at the cookie and you haven't thought through where everything's going to go, you'll lose a lot of detail because something gets covered up and you didn't mean for it to get covered up. All right, so we're going to just enlarge this just a little bit. Okay, let's pull these down just a little. I'm leaving the gap there because I know that's going to get covered, but I did get just a little bit of icing up on this bamboo, and I want to get that off because the bamboo is so detailed looking from using that beautiful fondant mold, which is really for cakes. So the reason I don't feel bad about telling you about molds like that when they're a little bit more expensive is because they can be used for cakes, cupcakes, or cookies. So if you want to up your game and do an entire sweet table for somebody, these things will allow you to do that for the certain themes that we're working on. All right, now see, that's all firmly attached to the cookie. It's not going to go anywhere. It's a little lifted, okay? So right now we're going to go ahead and fill in for the chalkboard so that we don't have to worry about working, since we're using the fondant mold this time to hold it all in. I think it's going to be okay. I don't know what happened. Oh, here they are. I was going to say, I cut small pieces of paper towel so I wouldn't waste so many. But I think it's going to be okay, and it will hold it back. I'm just going to close this in because this is a thicker icing and my black is runnier because I want it to get smooth. And the reason I'm going to go ahead and do this earlier instead of last is because I have a shot of it being dry enough, getting this little tip of plastic out of the way. I have a shot of it being dry enough that maybe I can show you what the marker looks like on it, right, by the time we get done. So I'm just shooting it in towards the bamboo, covering up all of that green icing that I used to attach it to the cookie. And this is not like true outlining and flooding because I don't need it to be perfect, right? I really want it to go up on all those nooks and crannies. So I'm angling it. Normally I'd have this on a turntable, but remember I'm doing it as a cake topper. So I've got this to contend with in my normal work area. So I'm just doing a little left-handed work here tonight. We'll hope it works. But I just needed to get up into all those crevices. Hopefully I made enough black. Hope I did. You ever done that, you guys? Been at like midnight icing that last cookie and there's like this much icing left in the bag and you're like, well, will it work or won't it? We'll see what happens. So let's fill this in. I'm just back and forth. This is probably a little thicker than it needs to be, but I just wanted to be safe tonight because I wanted it to have poof. Poof is necessary. So say hello if you are on, if you're on with me. Let me do a couple of these comments real quick before you hit this. So I'm keeping you entertained on the train ride home. Love that. Jennifer said 7 different sizes of clown costumes for you guys. That's so fun. Yeah, that's fun. Good memories, right? To find a coloring one. Sherry, you must mean for your, she does color books and Bible journaling. So yeah, your fingernails all the time. Hey, Priscilla, I got the coolest package. Were you on when I said your package came? I can't wait to test out the things that you sent. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I sent you a message. I'll go back and look at that after. But I got the coolest package this afternoon. Now, guys, clearly it's a chalkboard. We want to write on it. We don't want it rough like this. So last time, this is all I had to do, and it settled right down. This might be a little thicker. If it is a little too thick, then we'll do a little bit of manipulation with our scribe and then reshake. So I'm sorry if the camera goes in and out. Okay, that worked a little, but I think if we work quick and then do the shaking, I think we're going to get a smoother texture. Now, chalkboards typically were slate, so they were rough. They did have a texture on them, right? They weren't perfectly smooth. So if you have divots and whatever, that's fine. Clearly, you don't want craters, though, right? You don't want something so that you can't get a nice writing on there. So let's just give it a little shake. I think we're going to be okay. If not, I'm going to hit it with a spritz of water, because that does a cool texture thing too. So I may just do that in a minute, but let's just see if we can get it to shake out all on its own. All right, so we're almost there. I think just a little bit of coaxing in a couple of spots and we're going to have the texture we want. I do want just a little bit. If it's a little bit rough and not perfectly smooth, that's fine, because we're going to be using that chalk marker to dirty it up. What do I mean by that? When this is totally dry and crusted and everything is fine with it, let's just see what this does, though. This is just a bottle of spray water. So let's hit it with that. This is, I did this a couple weeks ago, and it made the coolest texture. Not on this project, but on another project. So can you see what it's doing? You can't do this on every project, though, guys, because it won't work. But what it's going to do is make the spots like you get in slate. I was testing it out on something else, but it worked fabulous on this project. Normally, you could just put a little bit of water on here if you had a stubborn area and work the water in. But this made the coolest texture. It made it look just like a real authentic chalkboard. So I'm just testing it tonight. If your icing is already runny, it's not going to work for you. But mine is a little on the thick side, so I think it's going to be perfect. Oh, I think that's, let me just do a little shaking, but I think that's going to be great. So with that marker, what we're going to do is just color some places on here with the white chalk marker when this is totally dry. And I mean totally dry, leave it 24 hours. Do not, yeah, Jen, that's not a bad idea. Why don't you get on that? Yeah. Do you know anybody that can design that for us? Like you just drop it on a little table and it shakes. When that comes out, that was Jennifer's idea and she should get royalties. I've not seen that mentioned before, but it's a great idea. Okay, so if your icing's already smoothing out on its own, don't do this because it won't work for you. It's just going to be water on top of your icing. It won't do the same thing. But if your icing's a little on the thick side, then you'll be able to try this technique. Okay, so look what it does though. So it's going to give me very similar look when it dries. That water is going to make it just slightly different color there. Wherever it dries, where the little spritzes are, it's like it draws the gray out of the black. I guess that's the best way to explain it. Becky, you've got a prototype. That's too funny. So if you want to try that, make your icing a little on the thicker side. That way you'll get that natural look of like slate, what blackboards were initially made out of. Make sure these are totally dry so that you don't ruin your finish on those. And then we've got our chalkboard. We're good to go. So let's go ahead and pull in our thick. It doesn't matter which one of the colors of brown icing you use. So use the one that's thickest. I am going to use my lighter one because once it dries, I'm going to go back and do a little dry dusting or painting with gel coloring or with a sugar art like true brown, something that'll give it a little bit of depth. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the tip on this bag larger. I'm not going to do it over the cookie because I don't want to pick it out of the icing. All right. And so what I'm going to do, you remember we want that shape, right? And we're going to be sculpting this. So we're going right on top of the chalkboard. We're going right on top of the bamboo. And we need to do the whole area. So let's do our whole area. And we're going to get this really, do you see how we're getting that raised? Do you see how that looks? I'm going to lift it up and turn it. I hope that it's you know what, that was the other reason that I did not do that chalkboard, because I didn't want to turn it right away. But we're going to be sculpting this. So we want a large pile of icing. Can you see that? I'm going to do it quick. You see how much I have on there? Okay, now we need to let that just sit for a minute because we need it to crust up. So we're going to come up here and just start attaching leaves. But before we attach leaves, remember my goal is to make this as big and off the cookie as possible. So I'm going to be, these have to be super dry. These are royal icing transfers. So I'm going to go as far to the edge as I can to get some extra height on this cookie. Do you see what I mean? So I need my green, and this green is thick. It's about a 30-second icing, meaning it's not going to settle out unless you manipulate it. I want to use green instead of another color in case it shows through. And at this point, what I'm going to do, guys, is just start attaching these bits and pieces. So that's what I meant when I said the work was really done earlier. I'm just going to start attaching them and layering them. I'm going to touch this in between and see if it's almost where I can start. It's still tacky, right? A little bit came off on my finger, so it's not quite ready yet. So we're going to leave that be and just patiently attach a few more pieces, making sure we come back to check it so that we don't, we don't mess up and forget something. Now I think up here, I want to put one of these cool fan leaves, which is also from one of the other days. We're going to attach that, but I'm going to do it at an angle because I'm going to drop a flower in there. But you can see how they're staying up. I'm not having to put anything under them to support it. It's because I'm attaching with a really thick icing and because these are dry and they've already been shaded and colored. You see that? Good. Jen is asking Becky if you're serious, if you've already made a prototype or not. All right, so let's see. What do we want to do next? I think that I want just a couple of these. These are also fondant. We shaded them, but I want different colors of green in this cluster. So let's attach a couple of these. I want this to be a really dimensional cookie, so it's fine to be putting a lot of icing to give yourself depth on the back. Can you see that? Give me 1 second because I think that texting banner has run long enough. You have the number if you want to back up the video. Jen, if you want to drop some links in, this would be great. Drop them a link to join the Cookie Snack Attack group, a link to the store page, a link to the coffee shop where they can buy the royal icing transfer templates that I put up today, or do a tip the artist thing, whatever you guys want to do. All the info is there for you. Okay, let's test this. So now I'm touching it and nothing is coming off. So we have to immediately switch back to this. So what we're going to do is just form this, right? We want to form it into something that resembles a half of a sphere, right? And we want to come up here. I have to turn this a little. I'm sorry. I was going to try to not do it, but I need to, how about we use this cool new thing that I got also scrapbooking section, silicone tip. How about we use this tonight to make our, it's not on your supply list. You don't need it. You can do it with your boo-boo stick, and it's still too wet to use this. So we're going to have to let that go and go back to the boo-boo stick. I was just going to try something new while I had it, but it's not quite crusted enough. So you can also, guys, you can do this in layers. So what I'm doing is I'm using my boo-boo stick, and I'm shifting the icing apart to make an opening for my drink area. And I also want to curve it a little bit like we did in our original sketch. Okay, and then we're going to have to let it crust again. So we've got a nice lip around the edge. Now, if you have this tool, it's not necessary that you buy it, but if you have it, I find it works great. It's one of the fondant tools that has this little deal on the end, and then it's got a ball on this end. This is super handy. It's also plastic, so really easy to clean it later, right? So I'm just going to go in here and give a little bit more, and it's not fully crusted, so we're going to have to come back and do this again, but we need to get the crust started because the rest of it is crusting. So this is where we're going to go back and add white icing in a little bit. So we just need to form the lip of our drink, and we do want it to be a little bit rough like that. So just use whatever you're using to shape with and rough that up a little bit, okay? And you want to be careful so you don't put so much pressure on it that you cause your chalkboard to crack, okay? You need to keep all what you're working on with the coconut to its own area. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use our thingamajiggy, and we're just going to work quickly to put ridges. And you see how I'm pulling upward? It's because I don't want to mess up my chalkboard. So I'm just doing some lines. That's all this is doing for me. In fact, you can just rock it if you want to. Okay, because we just need to get some more areas exposed to air so it'll crust up. So in a minute when we come back, we'll put the final texturing on it. Do you see where it got shiny where I was doing that? That's because it was encouraging the water to come together. And so then we had some areas there that we were having to work on, right? Be careful around. So let's just check this. We're going to use this ball tip and pull this back up because we're sculpting this. So you got to think about like working with Play-Doh or clay or even construction type buttercream. Just want to leave this little area there. Right now we're going to leave it alone for a second. We need it to crust a little more. If you need to, gloved hands, if it's for a customer, you can just work your fingers to work it back up. If you've smushed it too much, it does take a little bit to get used to doing this, but promise, so much fun. There's another fondant tool that if you don't have it, you'll probably really like it because it has this ridged area here. So it's another one that's really fun to work with because you can get these same lines as you're pushing. So as I'm pushing inward on it, I'm also getting that cool line. Now, obviously, it's not crusted enough, so we're going to stop and let that go for right now. So let's come back to this. Actually, let's go back here and let's add some flowers, okay? So tonight I decided to go with the fondant flowers that I made because I want it to look different than the first one of these that I made. But if you have extra of the hibiscus flowers that you piped, definitely you can use that as well. And I want my hot pink as my outer. I want my dark color further away and the lighter ones coming in to be near the chalkboard. So let's start attaching those with the thick pink consistency icing that we used earlier today. We're going to put those in place. Now, what I'm going to do, this has to be a thick consistency icing or this is not going to work because you're layering this cookie. So you know how you pipe a toothpick rose, you make the big ball in the center. So that's basically what you want to do on the back because you want it to be raised above the other items. Do you see? You want it to be raised. You don't want to go flat. So you need to put enough in there to hold it up off the cookie. Now, the next one you're going to attach to however a lot of it's going to depend on how you attached your leaves. You just want enough icing on there that it catches. Now, you see this naked area that I have there? Let's go ahead and fill that in with some green. We have the green off to the side here that we've been using. And remember, I did just the light green because I wanted to shade it by using the icing. But I want to fill that in so that if there's any gaps when I attach this flower, it doesn't show. Okay, so let's put a little clump on here. You can see, right? Because I'm not quite sure what it's going to touch, but I know when this dries, this is not going to move, which is going to be just lovely. So you see how I have that positioned? Then I'm going to come in. I'm going to use my white icing, although it's thinner, so I have to be careful how much I put on the flowers. But I'm going to use these baby plumerias from the Killer Zebra fondant molds that we did. I'm just going to be putting a little bit because I'm just going to add a few in. I don't need a lot of icing. We're just going to drop them in on the clusters. Okay. Hopefully I didn't put my finger through that. I almost did though. Okay, so here's something else fun we're going to do. So let's come down. You know what? I know what I need to do there. Hold on. Hold on. We're going to end up with an odd number of flowers, but I forgot that I need to put one here because that's why I said it didn't matter that my bamboo didn't quite go all the way up. Okay, so let's fill in with the green. Then let's attach the flower with the pink. This is all toothpaste consistency, so it's going to adhere together as it dries. And then just watch your spacing and how you're tipping and curving these, because obviously the lower ones really need to be in the foreground of what you're working on. All right, then let's attach another little white one in here, just because it's cute. There we go. And I'm going to use my scribe now and just make sure things are actually attaching. You know, sometimes you think things are attaching, they're not really attached. You pick up the cookie and something falls off. So I just want to check it to see if it's attached. And that one feels attached. This one feels good. Now what I want to do is work quickly because I put that extra icing behind there. So super easy at this point to insert like one of my long leaves and use that icing as what I attach it with, right? You see what I mean? So let's put a light one in there too. I think this needs a light color leaf. And we've got enough icing. If you feel like you don't have enough icing, if you feel like it's tipping, then really what you need to do is just stop for a second. I'm turning this carefully because this is my cake topper one. It's not a good one to demo on the air with because you have to really watch out for the sticks as you're turning it. But this is the one I want to do so I can photograph it for tomorrow. So thank you for bearing with me. I added a little bit more icing and now I'm just putting a light green. So you see, I'm not just layering the leaves. I'm layering different kinds of leaves and I'm laying different colors, right? So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can't have 6 flowers. That's going to drive me insane. So let's just add another little white one. Let's add another little white one like on the side where we have that extra green. That way we'll have an odd cluster of the flowers there. We're going to put in a couple more leaves over here. So this was from the plumeria flower leaves from a few weeks ago. Let's tuck that in and we can angle it because we've got some nice thick icing there. So it's actually angled up off the cookie. We have got these cool little palm leaves in different colors. So you know what? Let's move this bigger one back and put a little more icing on there. So you see what I mean? Of like you're kind of playing as you're placing. That's why you want to make enough, but not so much extra. So let's put a little more of our green, right? Let's go ahead and go to the edge where we're going to have the leaves. We're going to leave that part naked. Let's put this larger, darker leaf towards the back. That's pretty, right? Angle it in there. Then let's go ahead and just add a few of the different little leaves in different shades of green and different directions. But we need to make sure they are anchored enough in that icing. And then when we get done, we want all of that icing to be covered up. So we just want to be careful where we're adding these. Okay. And I'm going to use my scribe, tap the little white one back into place just a little bit more like it would look for a flower arrangements at a wedding, like they'd be coming out the side. So you could be totally done with that first cluster and it would be fine. Okay. All right, let's go back to this because it's crusting. We don't want to get too far away from what we're doing here. So let's pull this back up a little. Let's just run it back. Oh, let me come up into frame. Sorry about that. Hold on. It's important we see all of this so that you know it is not that hard. It just requires practice. Okay, I'm just using my thingamajiggy. I'm making some grooves as if it was the fuzzy stuff on the outside of the pineapple. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm sure it has a real name, but we're going to call it fuzzy stuff. And I'm just making the grooves as I go upward. And what's happening, because the icing is partially crusted, is it's giving me this fabulous texture when I pull the thingamajiggy away. So what I have been able to do is maintain this beautiful rounded shape. I used what was already on the cookie to build up my cookie, so that I didn't have to worry about trimming out those pieces. It gave me more lift, right? So let's do this. I'm going to hold this in place and I'm going to use this little fondant tool and I'm going to make the area to put the white icing, okay? Now I'm doing this so that you can see it on camera, but truthfully, I can't see what I'm doing from this angle. I just have done it so many times now that I pretty much know what's happening over there. But if you're doing this in person, work right over top of it. Okay, let me wipe this off. I do think I want to pull this around a little bit. Oh, look what I did. So let's pull the weight of this back up a little bit. That's probably the other reason I did my chalkboard last time, because now I've made a little ripple in my chalkboard. I don't think you're going to notice it, and I'll put a couple flowers there, but that's another reason to save the chalkboard to last, because it's a lesser consistency icing. And what you don't want to have happen is that's going to be your least resistant, because it is not as thick. Now I got to do a little repair work on my coconut. So I'm taking just a little bit off and adding it where I flattened it a little too much. Do you see? Because I still need that nice edge over here, because I need it to look like a drink. And tomorrow I'll take you some good up close and sideways photos so that you can see the depth we actually are getting on this cookie. All right, so let's go with that. Now what I want to do right now is go ahead and put the white icing in for the drink, because while this is still not fully dry, while the coconut is not fully dry, I need to slide my umbrella in, my cool little umbrella that we're doing. So let's go ahead and get this, just get a nice oval shape in here to make it look like the real coconut drinks, right? I don't even know if they serve drinks in these actual coconuts anymore. I just know it's always a thing you see when people are at resorts. So I assume they still do it, but I have no idea. Okay, so how cool is that? And you've got your fun texture. Isn't that fun? Let's see. Let me do a few comments, okay? So Jen has the link up live on the Facebook page where you can click it to go join Cookie Snack Attack. And there's a coffee shop link for the templates and supply list. Dots and Bows is where the cutters came from. Class discount is SS Class 10. That's for Seriously Sweet Class 10. You'll get 10% off your entire order, not just the things that are for our class. There's cutters and STL files. Let's see. Jen is saying it would look amazing with really fine wafer paper. Yep. Remember, we shredded wafer paper. If you go back to the coconut video, we did one with toasted coconut, one with texture like this, and we did one with shredded wafer paper. So you can see what that looks like before you create this cookie. That way you'll know what you want to do. Okay. Let's see. Oh, some rock candy in the drink. That would be fun. Like some slushies. That would be great. I think that would be really fun. Actually, you could just do the white decorative sugar in the drink if you want it to look slushy too. All right, but now we have to move quickly because we want to put our hot pink umbrella in. If you are a person who does not want to put anything on your cookie that is actually not edible, totally fine. This is made to be a cake topper, a piece that's saved. So I don't care that this little umbrella is not edible. I just wanted the effect of what would be in a real coconut drink, right? So you go whichever direction you want to. And because that coconut is so thick, I'm just sliding the toothpick right in. Look how cute. Isn't that adorable? All right, so I am going to have to do a little damage control here, though, because I got a little heavy-handed when I was sculpting my coconut. Now, remember I said tomorrow. Now I'm going back with a cross pattern to just get a little more dimension. But tomorrow, when this is dry, because I don't want to introduce any more liquid to this cookie at all when I'm doing something that's this tall. But see how cool that looks? So tomorrow, what I'll do is I will come back and I will dry dust this or add a little of the dark brown, okay? Now, I wanted to tell you this too. If you have these left over from earlier, save a few for next week too, because you'll need them on that other sign. It's going to have foliage on it as well. But if you have these left over and you did the fondant molds, you can go back and add these. You're going to get even a little more dimension. So I'm going to do that because we're going for the extra tonight. You do not have to do this. And I'm attaching with a little bit of pink because if it smushes out, I need it to look like part of the flower, not part of the stem and the stamen, okay? So on these hibiscus flowers, these little things stick way out from the flower. So it's totally okay that it's not an exact fit. I pulled 3 of them. I guess I should have pulled 4, but I'm going to attach 3 and maybe I'll look for a 4th one later. little bit of pink on the back in case it smushes out. And then I'm just figuring out the best place to attach it to the cookie. But see how cute that is? So it actually, you just took fondant, you used 2 mediums together, you used fondant and a royal icing transfer. Oh, somehow, look y'all, all over my arm. Hold on. Somehow I got brown from my little tray here all over my arm. So let me just roll this up so that I don't keep putting my hand in it because it's icky. I don't like it. I don't like stuff like that on me. All right, so let's do this third one because I have a third one pulled. I don't know if I had a fourth one made or not, so it may be something I have to do tomorrow. Just a little bit of pink to attach it so that if it squishes out, it looks like it's part of the fondant. We don't want it to, the reason why is not yellow is because we don't want it to look like a really thick stamen if it squishes out. And we just need it to attach enough that it's going to dry. If you're being super particular and you see a little bit too much pink on like one of the two-tone, just use your scribe and adjust it a little bit. It'll be fine. Promise you it's going to look beautiful. It's getting me more height and more dimension on the cookie, so I like that a lot. If you feel like it's a little loose, like that one, now that I know where it's actually going to attach to the cookie, I'm going to go back and put just a little bit more since I know where it's going to attach. So Jen, this has your nonpareils, so the candy is covered. We are working with a non-food item on this cookie because we're using it as a cake topper, turning it into a cake topper. You guys can be doing yours as just a regular feature cookie if you want to. This is not a regular cookie by any means, though, any way you cut it. So do you see what I'm doing with the scribe? I'm just pulling that extra pink off because when that dries, it'll be too hard to get it off tomorrow. If you don't do it while it's wet and you try to work backwards later on that particular part, then you're going to end up cracking something. All right, so beautiful, beautiful. So Jen, I have candy on here for you. And I have this cool new twist of an actual 3D umbrella, okay? So let me just hit this one more time. Feel like it looks really good. It's also not moving too much at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and put some flowers to hide where I messed up my icing. I'm going to put a little cluster of leaves and a flower. It is going to cut down on my handwriting area, but for me, not that big a deal. For what I'm using it for, it's okay. But let's see, what do I want to use? I think I want something, I think that's a little big. Let's pull one of these pieces that I dried at an angle, right? So it looks like mint. You know how sometimes these drinks have little pieces of mint? Look, that perfectly covers the error. Look, perfect. That's why you always make a little extra and you always make them all different. You shouldn't ever really want these to all be uniform because it doesn't make sense. They would not be in real life. Now I have another curved one, so I'm using it on the side. Can you see that? I love happy accidents. Can you see how it's curved, but it totally covers up where I messed up the chalkboard? And I have enough room behind it to add in one of these for my cluster because a mint cluster would really have 3 leaves. Then we're going to attach a little flower right there, okay? And then we're done on that side of the cookie. And it looks like we did that little happy accident on purpose because we needed it to be lifted up, right? You see what I'm saying? How we build it up with the icing. How perfect. All right. I think we're good to go. And tomorrow I'll hit that edge a little bit. I like how all of this looks. I don't like the mess at my work area. So I'm going to pull this out of the way because the icing is thicker, it's drying faster. So it's crusting. So it's making more of a mess. I have to be very gentle with handling this because I don't want to mess up the chalkboard. Although a few ripples is fine because it is supposed to look like a chalkboard, but also because I made this come so far off the cookie, there's no cookie behind that supporting that top piece, and I don't want to crack it when it hits the table. So now we're going to turn and we're going to work at this angle. Let me get a few things out of the way just so I don't wreck this little guy. All right, let me move this. Now remember, we're planning on our tiki to go right here. Let's move up a little bit. Let me get a few more things out of the way. So we're planning on our tiki to be like this. You can make him straight up and down. I think he looks really cute going out because this side's going out. So I kind of want that balance. You don't have to do that. That may just be an Amy thing, you know, the extra that we keep making fun of, but it is what it is. I'm always looking for the details and trying to give you tips on how to photograph things so that you can go back and look at the details before something's delivered or before you walk away from it. Okay, so right now this is literally just sitting on top of what's already there. What I want to do, I know roughly where he's going to be on the cookie, so I want to put brown underneath him in case it comes out the side, right? And I don't need a ton. I just need enough to lift it. Then I'm going to go back and put my little tiki person. What are we naming this one, by the way, guys? Jennifer, you point out the obvious. I think it's pretty obvious by now with this summer series that I really enjoy teaching you guys the extra because it allows us to work in so many techniques that I feel like you're going to be able to take all of this knowledge and run with it. Like you'll be going to be doing a project and go, ooh, I know how to do such and such, and I can go next level now. All right, so let's turn this. We got to keep turning now, remember, because we don't want to work over top of the wet area, right? So let's carefully turn it. Now we have to work upside down. Here's where the real trick starts. So let's come off the cookie up here. So I think, again, one of the royal icing transfers is good. Then we're going to add one of the fondant Minorco. I hope I said that right, leaves. That's what we're going to add. Because they're not really palm leaves, right? They're a different plant. We just call them palm leaves, but they're not really palm leaves. I still didn't cut the tip of this bag big enough. Can you believe that? And I love this green fresh shoot bamboo look versus the dark brown look of the other one. So enough icing. Let's see. Let me make sure you can see it. Let's pull this up here. So I'm attaching this to the cookie. This is a royal icing transfer from several weeks ago. It's very dry. So as long as the icing you're attaching it to the cookie with is nice and thick, it's going to stay parallel on the cookie, right? It's not going to, in other words, it's not going to do this. It's not going to tip off because we want it to be actually angled on that cookie. You see what I'm doing? How I'm giving it a moment. I'm kind of pressing here. I don't want to break it. Okay. So then I can go back and I can use one of these cool sculpted leaves. Taliki Miki. Taliki Miki's kind of cool, Becky. I like that. You haven't named one of yours Taliki Miki, have you? That's a fresh name. We can call it Taliki Miki. It kind of sounds like a tropical drink name. So look at all the icing I'm putting on here because I need to build it up. The only way you can do this build up is if you're working with a thick enough icing. All right, so let's make sure. I want to use my sculpted fondant leaf, and we're going to come all the way in. So remember over here, I can still see the knot that I was concerned about. That's such a tiny detail, right? But give me one sec. Okay, thank you. That's enough. That's enough. We're good. Someone's at the door. This is how I know I have people around because the girls tell me. All right, so hold on. Jump off there. Hold on, jump off and be quiet. The girls say hello, everyone. That's Lucy, Anna, Maddie, and Penny. And Luciana is for Louisiana, right? We named her Luciana. Get it? That's where my hubby's from. Okay, so we turned that nice sculpted leaf. Look how far off the cookie we are. Is that hilarious? I can't believe it. It's good. It's working good. So now I don't want to do anything else right here. I've got to carefully turn this around because I want to place his feathers next for his headdress before I run out of room. Because I made so many pieces, I'll run out of room if I'm not careful. So work in sections. I'm rotating, not picking up, again, because of the chalkboard. I don't want to get all crazy with the chalkboard and mess it up. Let's make sure this is where I like it. He feels good and secure. I mean, I guess all the tikis are he's. I don't know. I guess we could call it whatever you want, but I do like Taliki Miki. I think that's what you put on there. Yeah, I feel like that's good. Feel like that looks really good. We do need another flower in here though, if it's soft enough. Here's what I'm going to do. I still see a little bit of my error where I did the chalkboard instead of waiting till the end. So what I need to do is put this in here with some tweezers. So can you see this little bit? I have 3 petals. I'm going to use my tweezers that I use to place sprinkles and pick this up. Okay, well, clearly I need to turn this because I can't hold it with my left hand. So let's turn it. I want you to see that area. Let's turn it the way it would be going onto the cookie. Get a grip with this. And tucking this in under the other flower is going to look like I have a cluster of flower, but it's going to hide that spot that I messed up on the chalkboard. Now, if you don't care about that spot, I don't care about that spot. You just move on. But I can see it, which means it's going to show up even worse in a photograph. So while I have the ability to do it, I just want to cover that area with these little bitty extra flowers. Now, you saw what I did, right? I cut it because I actually made these flowers. These flowers, these little white ones, are not from today. So they are a little harder. It's very firm fondant because it makes it almost gum paste when you use it with the Tylose powder. Now, if I had wafer paper leaves, which I did not have any more made, but if I had them, I could have just tucked those little wafer paper leaves in here. They're great filler and hide areas like this. But instead, I've just taken that one flower and hid that entire area. So now we're good to go, okay? But I don't want that to be the thing that you notice when you look at this cookie. All right, so let's go back and add his headdress. We're going to add in green because our leaves are green. So I'm just going to, oops, sorry, my hand totally covered that. So how about we turn it like this so you guys can see it? Monstera leaf, that's what I was trying to think of. No. Are you sure it's spelled that way? I'm pretty sure there's a M-O-N-A-R-C-O leaf too, I think. But this might be a Monstera leaf, but I was trying to think of the name of the other one. I thought it was Minorca or something like that. I'll look it up later if I can find it. Okay, so these are my big fancy feathers. Remember we colored these earlier? Aren't they pretty? This feather just by itself, just to give you an idea, this is a 3-inch tall feather for his headdress. So it's going to be the center part. We're going to do leaves in the background. And then the last thing we're going to tuck in is this feather. So let me make sure I have enough icing in here to work with, right? I need it to be a little raised. So I have these little feathers that I made earlier. So let's pick the ones we like from this. Okay. So I think what I'm going to go with is these two, which are more similar in color. Since it is supposed to be feathers, they would typically look more alike. I'm going to go straight down and then I'm going to go under and turn it out. That way I get really nice dimension. Okay. Now over here, I still want to go under my Tiki Man, but I need something behind it to support this. So I'm going to really carefully pull him up just a little because I need to go straight down and under for the second feather so that it comes slightly onto my board. Can you see what I did there? All right. And then I want my last feather to go completely under him right here, but I really want it to come up off the cookie. So I'm wedging it between him and the other feathers, but I want that one to be the tallest feather in his headdress. Okay. And we've got all these great shades of green going. I'm going to go back in here, just put a little more icing in there underneath that transfer so that if someone just touches it, it doesn't break off. And I think I'm going to add a couple of these really light, because that's going to cover that part up. So we're going to do this here just to come off the cookie to make our cluster a little bigger. We'll add these light ones by just going straight into that icing from the side. And that's going to give it a little support too, right? So what do we call it? Taliki what? Taliki Landra. That's pretty too, Priscilla. I like that one too. All right, so let's turn this back around, see what it's going to look like because we need to add flowers now. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that fun? So I'm taking a lot longer to put this together because we're talking, but if we weren't talking and I wasn't explaining all these little intricacies of how to assemble this and what colors and how to balance and all of that, I would already be done with this, because when I do these by myself and everything's prepared, it's like 15 minutes and the thing is together and I'm done. So the talking, definitely allow time for that if you decide you want to teach cookie classes. All right, now, okay, I totally have to have a flower on the Tiki Man. Even if it's a Tiki Man, I need the hot pink, okay? It's something I need. So hope you'll go along with that. And it's my Tiki Man, so you do your Tiki Man however you want to. All right, let's get this ready to roll. I hope everyone is having a good week. Hope all of you are having a good week. All right, just lightly, gingerly, like you're rubbing a rose petal, right? Can't be heavy-handed on this stuff. So I think that's good. Do you guys want to see a little white flower over here? Do you want a leaf? What would you like over there? You need the explanation, Jen. I know. I always end up just gobsmacked watching. Look at this. This is funny. This is true, though. I feel the same way when I watch other people do fondant sculpting, or when I'm doing something like off the chart like this. I'm like, what did we just do there? I'm just not really sure. Thank you, Sally. I'm so glad you like this. Thank you. Oh, nope. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so did we decide if we want to put a white flower here? Do we want to put a white flower? What do you think? I think we need one to balance out the white of our drink and the white up here. Okay, guys, thank you. Thank you so much. I think we need one. We'll use the pink to attach it because the pink is thicker, so I can get it up taller. So I think that looks good. Now, we are dangerously close to putting too much on this cookie. Like, I know I wanted it to be over the mark, and I know I want it to be really lifted, but we're dangerously close to too much. However, do you see what I see? Do you see the problem that I see? Let me take Sally's comment off here so you can see better. Let me pull this down. Okay. Do you see it? Like, it's going to look great, especially once we write on it. But do you see the problem? Anybody? So we didn't finish this, and there's no white up here. So our floral doesn't go all the way around the cookie, right? So I'm going to use one of the baby whites, and we're just going to add just that little bit to cap it off. And then in my opinion, we're totally finished. Even if I had wafer paper leaves at this point, I would not add them. And the other thing that I'm going to do to this before I do the photos is I'm going to diamond dust with white diamond dust, not silver, not pink, not green. I'm going to hit this entire thing with just a spritz of that shimmer before we do the photographs for the finished set, because I want it to have that nice look out in the sun. And if I was doing someone's cake topper, I literally would wait till the end because it just kind of puts a sheen on it. So if you know they're not eating it, they're going to be keeping it, you want it to be a focal piece, then I definitely would wait till the very end and add that. Okay. All right. So let me just grab the green. I want to put one more medium colored leaf. I don't think he needs another thing on his headdress. To me, he looks just great. But let's slide this in. This is a nicely dusted one. Add just this little bit right here so that the flower looks like it has the appropriate size leaf with it too. Now I'm going to gently lift this. It could cause my chalkboard to crack, but you know what? You guys are totally worth it. I'm picking up gingerly because what I want to show you is this. This could be a blooper reel moment. Are you ready? I hope everyone's watching. Look at how off the cookie we are. You see? Okay, chalkboard looks okay. Doesn't look any worse for wear for the flipping. I don't recommend you do that at home. Don't be me in this situation, okay? So let's see. Remember we said our cookie was 5 by 6. Our cookie is now 8 and 7. So see how much bigger we got it, how much extra we got on there? So then you can go back, guys. There is a way to do this cookie, super basic. I know I was holding my breath too, Barbie. So you can do this cookie super basic and do everything in just royal icing. It definitely does not need to be this, but this was the point of the series, was to show you how to take these cookies, just push them over the edge, make them into cake toppers, make it a feature cookie, something that someone wants to keep for a special event. There's also one other missing thing. I do need to go back and add the yellow stamen on this one, but I'm going to have to grab that from my box, so I will do it later. I like this cookie like this without any extra airbrushing or anything because I wanted it to be obvious that it's a cookie. You know how I normally ice the whole cookie, I hit airbrushing, I try to disguise that it's a cookie. These cookies, people are having trouble believing they're cookies. And I wanted it to be obvious. So the border in this case does not bother me at all. And I have to say, I absolutely love this. So even when I do the next one, because I have a couple more blanks made, you know how I did this one dark? I'm going to do sculpted royal icing, probably just for fun one night when I'm using up the extra supplies. I'll do it in royal icing, but I'm definitely going to do it in this green yellow color because it's just very bright. It just has a very bright daytime pop look. And look at these two, you guys, next to each other, if you can see. You see the difference of using the royal icing transfers, how quick we would have been done if we used those, and the plumeria that we did off a transfer that we had piped ahead of time versus doing this. So you have two very different looks here, right? So hopefully it's given you some great ideas and it's going to inspire you to go make beautiful things and bring more cookie joy to the world, because there is not enough joy in the world right now. All right, if there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the video. If you do have any questions, please just message me and I'll get back to you. It may be a couple, if I don't get to you tonight, it may be a little bit because I'm in the store the next 3 days and I have lots of orders for this week. So I will be talking to you soon. I have something else planned. If I get time, I'll be doing it on Friday or Saturday night. Not something specific to this set, but you could use it with this. So I'll catch up with you guys later. Have a wonderful night. Happy Wednesday. I hope y'all have a fabulous